What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Trains and Tech. Today we're going through this killer 282 steamer. It's got some battle scars right here, a little bit of play wear. This gives it character. This truck is going through a little bit of zinc pest, so hopefully it can stick around and not disintegrate on me. This steamer was picked up as part of a big collection that I bought. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it right here. Make sure to check that out. Nonetheless, let's throw this on the track. We've got 4073 on the track, and I'll show you guys what's going on. Whenever we give it power, it has power right now. Look, it's not even moving, but occasionally it'll want to start. You see how it was trying to go? Let's reverse it. It goes a little bit, but the worm gear was slipping a little bit. So it has life, that's for sure. I think a solid cleaning would be able to really make this steamer come alive. So let's get it back onto the bench. Let's start getting this guy apart. So I suppose we'll just start taking stuff off from the bottom. I see these two flat heads right here, which look like they're connected to the body. So we'll take these guys off. I can already get a feeling of how annoying it'll be to have to deal with the tender connected. So I'm gonna just disconnect our coal car. All right, we'll set that guy over there. Let's keep working on him. So we've got a good chunk of it free. There's a screw, I think that's underneath this front wheel, so we're going to take this out. Okay, well, there's the spring. Then yeah, we've got that screw deep inside of here. And maybe this will come out. Let's see. We've got the front piece off. It's got like little whiskers. Okay, so that side wants to come out. It's like stuck. Okay, there we go. My main thing that I wanted to get into would be everything concerning the motor. Just to make this easier, I'm going to go ahead and take off these wheels completely. All right, I think this is the only screw that's holding the motor in. So let's take out this one. Excuse me, keep burping. Oh, this even has a tiny washer. It's got that tiny washer on it. Sick. Nice. Now this entire piece is separated and we've got our motor on display right here. It's got a good amount of carbon deposit on the commutator right here. Got a little bit of old grease in this worm gear, but it looks fine for the most part. Now our drive gear down here, you can see there's some pretty old grease. So far everything looks rather promising. Yeah, these brushes are pretty worn though. If you don't know what I'm talking about these guys right here. They're super beveled and are very well seated, which leads me to believe that this has probably been run a bit. So we went ahead and cleaned up the commutator and made sure to get out any debris that could be sitting in between the commutator segments. Now we're just gonna get a little bit of oil in here, making sure not to get any oil near the electrical stuff, just around these bearings. So we've got one bearing that sits right here, and we've got another bearing that sits back here. Honestly, all this looks pretty solid, and this is really not that bad. There's just a tiny bit of old grease in here. I'm not gonna really try to get this, warm this up and try to pull off this worm gear. I think it's unnecessary. I don't want to risk damaging any of this because I don't have a lot of replacement parts. So that's why sometimes in these videos, the way I may clean things or go about servicing stuff is rather cheap per se. It's because I don't have replacement parts. Blah, 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 blah. Now that we're done with the motor, let's take a look at our assembly right here. This gear is pretty nasty. So I'm going to do my best to try to get all of this out. If I get these two screws right here, I should be able to pop these wheels out and get a better access in here to clean all of this out. The only part here that I'd want to clean is this drive gear. So unlike the worm gear looked pretty fine, but this one definitely has some built up grease that I think I'll be able to get out. Also, I'll be able to freshen up these guys down here. I basically use this pencil for everything. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but it does a really good job cleaning. I mean, I just put it in here and brush it a few times and this stuff looks brand new. You see how shiny that is? So I went ahead and got a ton of the gunk out of here and cleaned up the wheels and axles just a little bit. All of these seats, I suppose you'd say, are cleaned out. get this plate back on. And we'll throw these guys in just like that. Bam, all those are in. Look at that, it was purely magic. I forgot to clean up this gunk right here. She's now all nice and cleaned up. Time for the motor to go on top. You can't ask for something to have, you know, less pieces that hold things in. Like the motor, for example, is just held in by a screw. This is awesome. Now here's the fun part where we got to get the linkage back into the body here. First though, I'm going to put a little bit of oil just since this stuff is going to be sliding. I was thinking of just dropping, you know, a drop or two inside of here. I don't know if that's even necessary. Here's the connection for our light. It's tied in a knot. I don't think the light was working whenever we first had it on. We'll see if the light works. Upon further investigation, this is upside down. Let me flip this the other way. All right, I got this flipped over. Now let's try to put the cab back on. Oh, this is gonna be not very fun. I really hope I didn't mess up putting something back in here, because doing this linkage and putting all this back together was such a nightmare. I even stabbed myself at some point. Like this accidentally went into my finger and that really hurt. So not fun at all. However, I've got it back in there. This piece wants to keep sliding out. I don't know why. All this did was remind me why I don't like working on steam engines. That's for sure. Did this used to look like this? I feel like this sat so much lower. You got me tripping. Oh, I'm going to start putting in the rest of the pieces. This screw goes in this hole right here. I think I can try to slide this one back under here because this one just popped out. You have a hole right there. Just stay in there. I don't know if this is going to work out. I'm going to preemptively test this to see if this is having any sort of binding. Oh, there it goes. Gosh dang it. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, this looks professional. Loki. So I wasn't getting great results just by taking it and trying to bench test the linkage to see if it was moving freely. So I just went ahead and I put the tender back on. I'm just gonna throw it on the track and see if it'll maybe run. I've got 4073 on the track. Let's give her a shot and see if she rips. Oh snap. Look at that. This runs great. I guess the linkage is supposed to look like that. Doesn't it look kind of funny? Isn't it weird how it sits up so high? I thought it wasn't supposed to be like that. I also looked at some photos online, and these, I looked at some of these in their original like packaging. They were just from different lines, but they're all still like the same Tyco model, and they all looked like that. I just think it's so funny that the linkage sits up so high. This thing's got life in it. Oh yeah. However, I'm not done quite yet. I do want to see if I can get that truck cleaned up. I don't know what the best course of action would be because I don't want to destroy the truck. But I'll ask ChatGPT. I'll see what ChatGPT says. So after consulting the all-knowing ChatGPT, it's important we realize a few things about zinc pest, which is what I believe is happening to this truck. Zinc pest is not something that's necessarily reversible because it has to do with the breakdown of poor quality zinc that this truck is actually made of. So we can't really do anything about it. I'm gonna try to just like get some of the burrs off just to make the truck look more appealing. And then I'm gonna clean up these pickup wheels and we'll run it around the track, and I'll get some of those shots for you guys that I usually put at the end of my videos. All right, I tried to wipe up some of it just to make it look visually appealing, but there's nothing I can really do to slow down the process of it decomposing per se. I am gonna go ahead and clean up these pickups right here. Finally, we're just going to put a little bit of oil on these trucks to make sure they keep spinning freely. I feel like taking the trucks off the tender to lube the parts under here, so I just did a lazy version, tried to hit the best spots that I could. Nonetheless, let's throw this back on the track. 4073 is back on the track, and as long as I didn't, mess anything up, this should still run perfectly fine. Love to see it. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.